In basketball, some rivalries are built on mutual greatness. Others exist only because one side refuses to admit defeat. Angel Reese may not like to hear this, but her so-called rivalry with Caitlin Clark was supposed to be the next big thing in the WNBA. Instead, it has become a one-sided display of skill versus ego. While Clark lifts her team with pure talent, Reese chases double-doubles in blowout losses. When they faced off for the final time as rookies, one player walked off the court a winner. The other stayed behind, padding her stats in garbage time. The origins: college days. This story began in college when Angel Reese's LSU squad defeated Caitlin Clark's Iowa team in the 2023 NCAA championship. It should have been remembered as an epic battle, but instead, it became infamous for what happened after the final buzzer. Who could forget that moment? Reese taunting Clark with the John Cena, "You can't see me" gesture and pointing to her ring finger. While Reese celebrated with trash talk, Clark handled the loss with grace and dignity, congratulating her opponents and holding her head high. That moment told us everything we needed to know about these two players. One focused on the show, the other focused on the game. Turning pro. Two different paths. When both players entered the 2024 WNBA draft, the stage was set for their rivalry to continue. Clark was the #1 pick, heading to the struggling Indiana Fever, while Reese joined the Chicago Sky. But once they hit the pros, it was clear that Clark was pulling ahead. While Reese continued the antics that made her controversial in college, Clark let her game do the talking. Night after night, she dominated, hitting deep threes, threading no-look passes, and showing a basketball IQ far beyond her years. She wasn't just playing well, she was putting the Fever back on the map. Meanwhile, Reese made headlines for all the wrong reasons. There was the shocking moment where she smacked Clark on the head during a game. Later, she was caught celebrating when a teammate knocked Clark to the ground. These weren't basketball plays, they were attempts to intimidate a superior player. Off the court, Reese kept up the drama with subtle digs in interviews and social media. Some media figures tried to call it competitive fire, but let's be real, it was bullying, plain and simple. Reese couldn't match Clark's talent, so she resorted to intimidation tactics. Clark. She ignored it all, stayed focused, and kept winning. The game that ended it. Then came August 30th, 2024, the day Caitlin Clark silenced all doubters. It was the final rookie season matchup between the Fever and the Sky. The Sky had turned this into a spectacle, hosting their first-ever Barbie-themed game, with Chi-Town Barbie Reese as the centerpiece. The arena was packed, the crowd electric. But there was just one problem: Clark was about to steal the show. Early on, Chicago jumped out to a 21-9 lead. The home crowd roared. It looked like Reese might even the season series. But great players respond to adversity, and that's exactly what Clark did. By the end of the first quarter, the Fever had closed the gap to 26-23. Then, Clark took over. She drained logo threes. She sliced through defenders with no-look passes. She controlled the game like a seasoned pro. Meanwhile, Reese struggled, her offensive limitations painfully obvious. Defenders gave her space, daring her to shoot. When she attacked the rim, Fever defenders were waiting, forcing misses and turnovers. By the third quarter, what started as a competitive game had turned into a showcase of Clark's brilliance. The Fever built a double-digit lead, and Chicago resorted to increasingly physical tactics. In one controversial moment, Diamond DeShields collided with Clark in what many believed should have been a flagrant foul. But Clark, as always, kept her composure, got up, and continued dominating. By the fourth quarter, it wasn't even close. Indiana led by nearly 30 points. With 3:52 remaining, Clark checked out, finishing with 31 points and 12 assists. On Reese's home court. During her own special event, Clark had completely dismantled her supposed rival. The bigger picture. Two different legacies. Clark versus Reese isn't just a personal rivalry, it represents two different visions for women's basketball. And if attendance figures are any indication, fans have made their choice clear. Reese's own team, the Chicago Sky, moved their games against Indiana to the United Center, doubling capacity from 10,000 to 20,000 seats.
Why?
Because they knew Clark would sell out the arena. Other teams, like the Atlanta Dream and Washington Mystics, made similar moves, relocating to larger venues when Clark came to town. Not for Aya Wilson. Not for Brianna Stewart. Only for Caitlin Clark. The numbers don't lie. Before Clark's arrival, WNBA games averaged 6,600 fans. Clark's first preseason game? 15,000 fans. Her regular season games? Sellouts everywhere. TV ratings? Up 200 to 300%. The WNBA even signed a record $2.2 billion media rights deal. That's the Caitlin Clark effect. Meanwhile, Reese continues to focus on her personal brand, her Bayou Barbie persona, her fashion statements, and her social media presence. But that hasn't translated to wins. The Sky finished well below expectations, despite having multiple All-Stars. So here we are at the end of their rookie seasons. Clark, dominating, winning, breaking records, and filling arenas. Reese, chasing stats in blowout losses. The verdict is clear. Caitlin Clark has won this rivalry, not with trash talk, but with excellence on the court. She doesn't need to intimidate or taunt. Her game says it all. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and drop a basketball emoji in the comments. And let me know, how many more records do you think Caitlin Clark will break next season? Thanks for watching.